Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another episode here on European Confessions. The following message that you're going to be listening to, it was sent to me by one of our dear sisters, and it is a narration of the message that she sent to me. The message reads like this. Hello, Brother Nashi, how are you? Can you please post my own story as hidden identity? I am a woman who is aged 47 years old, and I am also living in a foreign land. So when I came to this foreign land, I used to have so much control over my own people that I had left behind back home in our country. So when people got their freedom to move around, coming also to South Africa, then I felt so much discouraged, and I felt as if people, they never respected me because I am the eldest one in the family. I always wanted things to be that way. I never wanted anyone to rise up above me. So when I came here to South Africa, I started working for this other white man who ended up opening his own guest house. So he then made me to become the head of his workers. So I was also controlling whom he would hire and whom he would fire. And things were just like great like that. It then happened that there was one of my youngest brother first who went to Mozambique, and when he went to Mozambique, he then ended up coming to South Africa, and he never told me about it because the way that I was used to things being done is people, they would inform me first and I will give them my own opinion. So at that time, he never told me that this is what he wanted to do so that I can give him my own honest opinion. And when he came to South Africa, he started working. He really got a great job. He got a job. This was in Cape Town. Within a short period of time, I heard him saying that he was about to buy a car. And I had been in this foreign land for many, many years. Yet me and my husband, we had only been surviving. We were only struggling. At least when we would go back home, when we would say that we have money, we would be having at least somewhere around 10 to 12,000 rands. But as for my little brother, when he came here, fortune favored him, and this made me to be very jealous. And I then spoke with my mother about this issue, and I asked my mother, how come had she let my youngest brother to succeed in life, yet she had chosen me not to succeed in life? And when I spoke with my mother, she said, there are some things, my daughter, that cannot be said over the phone. We cannot have this discussion over the phone. Why don't you return back home? So I then returned back home, and me and my mother, we then started to talk, and we had a very big argument. Look, what happened to my mother was that my mother, she was made to join witchcraft at a very young age. By the time that she got married to my father, my mother was already a witch. Her own grandmother was a witch, and she then became a witch. When she got married to my father, she tried to make my grandmother to become a witch like her. Even some of my father's brothers, yes, she tried to make them to become like her, but she failed to do so. She only converted one amongst my father's sisters who became a witch, but after she had become a witch, she just wanted to go around bewitching all the people, all those that had done bad stuff against her before she had became a witch. She started to chase after them, but she was then hit with a wooden spike. You know, those wooden spikes that they set as a trap for the witches back in our country. So she then went to this other compound after she had been told by my mother that she was not supposed to do that. It was not all about revenge, but the revenge had to be properly planned. But she went all alone, yet she was still new and she was still powerless. When she went there, that was when she was hit with a wooden spike in the middle of her forehead, and then she died. The next morning, it was said that the villagers found her lying dead in that compound, and then she was told to, and then the family was told that she could not be buried amongst the people at the place where the village people were being buried. So she was taken into the mountains and her body was left there, since she had been proven to be a witch. So after she had died, my mother was hated by her mother-in-law, our grandmother, and she was then kicked out of the family. When she was kicked out of the family, my father followed his wife, because my mother had already given some love potions to our father. So that is how they left the village where my father grew up in, and we came to the village where we are currently staying. So when we came to the village where we are currently staying, my mother reconnected with her old friends, the witches, since we came to the village where my mother grew up in, and then she was given a piece of land to build her house. That is where our house is still, even up until this day. So my mother, her being a witch, so whenever it was time for her to sacrifice something to the witches club, which we call Chijana in our language, she then started to sacrifice her children one by one. So far, my mother, out of the 8 kids that she has since sacrificed 5 of her kids. She has eaten them up, and she has sacrificed them to the witches club. So amongst the 8 kids, she then chose me, and she gave me her grandmother's name, because she also wanted me to become a witch. So when I was around about 10, that is when the dreams started. I would be at the graveyards with my mother and with other older women from the village, and I was then given my own powers, and I was taught how to become a witch. So since my mother had told me that her last born, my youngest brother, he was supposed to carry this spirit of poverty, I thought that things were always going to be that way, because this is what she had been told by the witches club, that amongst their children, one had to suffer, one had to carry the burden, one had to carry the spirit of poverty, because being a witch, it brings a lot of bad luck in your life. That is why you hear a lot of ladies complaining about having a lot of bad luck. It is just that at night they are taken by some witches. Maybe in their family there will be a witch, so that witch will try to convert them, but the process will not yet been finished, and the person in real life, what he or she will start to experience, it will be a lot of bad luck, a lot of hatred, people hating you for nothing. And that is the reason as to why most of the witches in the family, they choose one amongst their relatives to carry that burden of having the spirit of poverty following them wherever they go to. So my mother, she had chosen her last born, my youngest brother, for him to carry this burden, the spirit of poverty, to follow him. So when my mother allowed my little brother to come to South Africa, I was really hurt, because I knew what this meant. One amongst my own kids was going to suffer because of this. My brother was forever to remain poor so that I can succeed in life. So me and my mother, we spoke about this. Then my mother gave me the go ahead to do whatever that I wanted with my brother. When I returned back to South Africa, I had bought my brother this other soccer jersey for Chelsea, and I then sent this jersey to my brother. Since he is staying in another province, I just went to Pep and I sent it, and he collected it. He just thought that this was the love of his dear sister. But when I sent him this Chelsea soccer jersey, it was all about reconnecting him back to the altar, because my mother had released him from this altar of witchcraft. As my brother was wearing that soccer jersey, he was actually tying himself back to that altar. The final thing that I was supposed to do, the final ritual, he had to give me his money. So one day I called him and I told him that me and my husband, we didn't have any money at all. We were asking for his money. He then gave me his money. He looked for this other South African friend of his who sent us an e-wallet. I went and I collected the money from the Nedbank ATM, and then I tied this money with a red cloth. Even right now, I still have this money that he gave me many years ago in my room at the place where me and my husband we are staying. As long as I'll be keeping this money, then I'll be controlling his destiny. Dear listeners, right there was a message that was sent to me by our sister right there. That is her own confession. Our sister is saying, if you come to our village, to our place, you will think that maybe you are at the National Heroes Acre. So in Zim, the National Heroes Acre, that is where the people who went to war are buried. So she is saying that there are many, many graves at our house, at the place where they buried their relatives, because people have died in the family. He was saying that the graves right now that are at her mother's place, the graves are 20 in total. So you can just imagine. And these people that all died, they died within a short period of time. She says that sometimes when it is at night, it really gets scary. So when a witch tells you that sometimes at our compound it gets so scary, you can just imagine. Strange things do happen in this world.